Today's show is brought to you by StreamTech Drift Boats, the world's most versatile drift boat. Find them at www.streamtechboats.com. I kind of feel bad for these people, but at the same time I don't because they're stupid.
Don't see a circle around yourself, just start pissing everywhere.
Oh, I hate the Dutch.
Welcome to our country. So.
She doesn't really look Canadian. She looks almost American. Just insulted all of Canada.
Oh, every time I see something, you got If I'd known that before, I would have just interspaced every other sentence with something horrible.
Well, I haven't felt my feet since I sat down in the chair.
Can you see your feet, though?
No. I'd rather do anything else on the planet than go tip a cow over.
How about Canada? Is there any stream access issues up in Canada?
Nobody cares.
Not very much.
Kids, if you don't understand that joke, ask your parents.
Evan, Derek?
Yeah.
Oh, crap, here it comes.
Your flies are open.
Thanks.
Grab hold of your flies. This is a podcast for nymphers, strippers, swingers, and dry fly guys. It's the show that brings you stories, instruction, and conservation from three guys who live it every day. This is The Open Fly.
All right, happy 21st birthday, everybody.
Woohoo!
I actually got you guys presents for the birthday.
You did?
Yeah.
2, 1. I'm a little out of practice.
Yeah, why don't you put the mic down there?
Uh-oh.
Oh, crap. That's why we can't have nice things.
How's that?
Better.
Yeah,
Breaking shit.
Polished professional.
All right, so you guys want your 21st birthday presents?
Yeah.
Hey.
All right, one for Kirk, one for Derek.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
Oh.
I got you fancy leather pouches.
Look at that.
They might even have things in them.
Oh. Wow.
They're opening presents right now.
This is very... Here, look.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
you just hold it up to the mic there.
Can you see how cool those are, people?
Yeah, we'll have to take pictures.
Hey, look, they have our logo on them.
So those are Skull Candy Aviator headphones with Open Fly logos emblazoned on the side.
Wow.
Nice.
Turns out there's a guy that likes the show that works for Skull Candy, and
A person out there that likes the show?
Yep, there's at least one of them.
Wow.
And he works for Skull Candy headphones. So
Are we using these today on the show?
we can hook him up a little later if you want.
Or
I
can, we
want to be
just,
able to hear better.
Yeah,
or can we just take these out to the shooting range?
that's kind of what they look like, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm going to use them for.
All right, Derek, why don't you put those on real quick so we can take a photo and show everybody on our Instagrams and or Facebooks.
We're old enough to drink on the show now.
Yep, I've got Irish cream here in my coffee this
I'm
morning.
doing it underneath the speakeasies, or listen-easies, I guess you'd call them, right?
Yeah. Cool. So it's October now. I think we did a show at the beginning of September.
Yeah.
We're kind of on schedule once a month right now during our off season.
Which is why we're so on top of our game.
Yep. Very on top of
Better
it.
than
So.
being behind your game.
But
True.
yeah, we've been out because we've actually been fishing and doing things. Kirk just went up and visited our Canadian friends.
Yeah, up there in the Elk River area, by Fernie.
Yeah. How is working with a guide with the language barrier?
It was a wee bit challenging at times. He would make reference to Z instead of Z, which threw me for a loop.
That's a huge one.
He would say grade 2 a lot.
Say not instead of 0.
Yeah, exactly.
Grade 2?
Grade 2 instead of second grade.
Yeah.
But overall, hand signals and whatnot help, kind of break.
You just kind of grunt and point. Yeah.
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 Grade 2 and Z. So what were you guys doing out there? Dr. Seuss books or something?
We were talking about the Sage Z axis.
Oh. The Sage Z axis.
And I was mentioning to him that my daughter is teaching second grade, and he kind of had a puzzled look on his face. You mean grade 2?
Eh?
Yeah. So
It's pretty simple up there.
Yeah. They're simple people.
Cool place. Great guides, great water, great fish. And then,
were you accomplished or unaccomplished on this one?
there were accomplishments accomplished.
Okay.
We had a friendly wager between our two boats. There was 4 of us, and we threw $40 American into the pot and wagered on the biggest fish and the most fish.
Uh-huh.
And my boat had the most fish, and we felt bad for the other guys, so we conceded the big fish to them, although I think we actually had the big fish.
So you just got your money back?
Yeah, we got our money back, and we bought some jugs of beer, which cost like $19 up there. Mm-hmm. Pitchers of beer.
All right.
Did you have any poutine?
Did not have any poutine. I didn't know what it was, and I thought it sounded illegal.
You can buy poutine here at the Duval Grill.
I'm sure you can.
It's authentic, too. I had some.
Yeah, everything up there comes with brown gravy on it,
Yeah.
which was kind of weird. It's like, do you want poutine with that? Or they didn't ask, actually. It was just like it was assumed that it came with poutine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I'm not into the big gravy.
You
at
don't look like a
breakfast.
gravy guy.
No. Well, I'm being instructed to
Get closer to your mic.
get closer to the
Yeah,
mic.
there you go. All right. So, yeah, I did some fishing myself. Been doing a lot of steelhead fishing like I do because it's fall. So, spending some time on some local rivers, skated some up on dry flies because I do put the gear rods down from time to time.
Hey, good for you. Way to branch out.
Yeah, branching out, trying fly fishing. No, there was one day I went out. I was went up. It was super low, clear water. So I was like, I'm just going to take a 5-weight single hander and nothing but dry flies, and got one on my third cast.
Very nice.
Yeah, so that was cool.
Landed?
Got very close to landing, but with skating on dries, just getting the hook set it's a win. It's kind of like touching the leader with tarpon.
Yeah.
Just getting him to come up and eat it and getting a hook set. And, well, I got the fight and everything out of it, too. I've got this curse this year where they're shaking the hook within like 2 or 3 feet of me or the net, which that one did, but I considered that a win anyway because it was a dry fly caught steelhead, and it was a wild one anyway, and he just shook loose.
Perfect.
I didn't have to touch him.
Not so LDR.
Well, I didn't get the hero shot, so maybe it didn't count.
Yeah.
And
Did you
my
have
friend
to-
didn't have a chance to get his GoPro out.
Yeah.
So.
He wasn't wearing it on his head?
No. We were doing a float.
Fail.
We did a float a couple weeks ago, and I just had to laugh. There's 2 guys walking in with spay rods to one of the runs with GoPros strapped to their heads and everything, and I don't know. I don't get it.
I got rid of my GoPro before I became one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I have one that just sits in my camera bag.
I mean, I've seen some really cool GoPro footage of things and stuff, but just walking around the river with one in your head, I don't know.
I just saw one with Julia Mancuso roller skating in a American flag bikini on Southern California. That was
I don't get that
probably
either.
an appropriate use of a GoPro.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Perfect.
I think the coolest GoPro video I've ever seen is when, well, there's a couple of them now, and they're not as good, but the first one I saw of a guy putting one in his crab pot.
Yeah, that
There's a
would
lot
be
of-
cool.
There's a lot of really
Interesting.
cool stuff that happens down there in a crab pot before you pull it up.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Whole lot of drama unfolds.
Right. Jockeying for the best chunk of...
Well, it's not just crabs, though. Like lingcod were hanging out, and other fish would come in, and you'd see other things swim by.
Nice.
And then when you start pulling it up, everything skedoodles except for the crabs and the starfish.
The crabs are going to want their own TV show here pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's not going to
reality.
be many starfish left anyway. Sounds like they're all melting.
No, apparently some are coming back. There's juveniles being spotted everywhere.
Oh, excellent. Okay, then.
Then this weekend, Simon Gosworth stayed here at my house while he was teaching a class down the road, and took him up and did some dry fly skating and rose a few with him as well. So I got to fish with, well, probably the best fisherman I'll fish with.
Did you help him with his casting a wee bit?
I did. I gave him some pointers.
Yeah.
He's check his lines, make sure that he was using the right lines.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's always a smart thing to do.
I was like, I'm not even going to spay cast around this guy, so I just took the single hander.
Took your center pin.
I don't know if that would have. No, I just took the single hander and followed him through, and also got nibbles.
Picked his pocket.
I did. Well, he was about 20 feet down from me, and I was swinging a greenback skunk and got a grab, so that was cool.
Nice.
I got a personal best squawfish.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
On the res?
on the res.
Oh. How big?
Well, I'll show you a picture.
Okay, show everybody. Not bad. I'll have to show you some pictures of ones that I caught when I...
Dandy.
It might have been a 4-pounder.
Nice.
It hit a 6-inch streamer.
Well, I used to, in a small creek near my apartment that I lived in before this, I used to go fish for squaws. Like, you're fishing for brown trout, basically, just big streamers.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll just come up and blow them up. And I got them in the mid-20s before, like 24, 25 inches.
And I also caught some very nice smallmouth on dry flies, too.
Ooh.
Which was kind of fun.
That's
Yeah.
like a 1.5 pound, 2 pound fish.
I think so.
Yeah.
They fight really, really well.
They
Yeah.
do.
It was cool.
way better than largemouth bass, which are just wet socks that jump a little bit.
Yeah. These
And
were,
you don't have to handle them with kid gloves.
I could have used some gloves, some adult gloves probably. They're kind of sharp and spiny.
Yeah, when you're not used to that kind of thing.
Spiny rays.
Sea bass are worse. The sea bass, the black rockfish out here.
Yeah.
If you aren't real keen, or if you're not used to dealing with them, you can get stabbed by their fins, which are like mildly venomous. So not only do you get pricked, but then it starts like turning red and welling up a little bit later.
Yeah.
So
I lipped it.
Ask me how I know.
I got a nice picture of this bass with me lipping it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I would not want to get pricked by a stripper.
No.
Striper.
Yeah.
What about a wiper?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I think we got some feedback, Kirk.
Well, we didn't really talk in depth to Derek about his fishing.
I wasn't interested. Well, we just went in depth. He got a record.
Yeah, but he's been doing more than that.
Well, he got personal best squaw and smallmouth, and
now we can just talk about the everyday catching trout. Yeah, who wants to hear about that?
People want to hear about that.
I've been doing a lot of that too.
How's the seasonal transition on the Yakima bait going?
It's wonderful right now. Yeah, it's pretty good.
2 weeks ago, I was in the Project Healing Waters 2-fly event over there, and I thought the river, both days that I fished it, looked a little off color and dark. I was expecting it to be really clear.
You were down in the Lower Canyon.
Yeah. And talking with one of the guides from Reds, he said he thought it looked great. And so I deferred to him. He's on the lower river a lot more than I am, but I was expecting it to be much clearer.
It's always that color.
Yeah.
And they just shut off the flume, so it'll be getting a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Good times.
Speaking of off-color rivers, that's kind of our topic today.
Yes.
Well, partially. It's like 2% of the topic, but we're going to talk about the Methow River with some guides that are doing some cleanups and whatnot, because some crazy crap happened this summer there. So more on that later.
Okay.
Kirk, feedback.
The first one comes from Backyard.
Cue in the theme music.
Dun, 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 dun.
His name is Backyard?
Yeah, you know the guy.
Backyard.
Our local guy.
Can we out him?
No.
Okay, anyway, Chris writes, I've created an open fly drinking game. Grab your favorite bottle of whiskey, play any episode of the open fly, and take a shot every time you hear these things.
An appropriate email for today, given it's the 21st birthday.
Sure, exactly. Evan.
Hi.
Whenever Evan says, moving on or beer, take a shot.
Fair.
When Kurt says Duval or social media, I'm just going to let that go. Or when Derek says sustainable or Yakima.
Ooh. Oh, man. Somebody's sloshed already on this show.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, well, thanks for that, Mr. Backyard.
Yeah, if anybody wants to play that game, let us know about it.
Yeah.
Strap a GoPro on your head and let us know how it goes.
Maybe we should do the open fly drinking game episode where we just throw out these terms with reckless abandon.
Yeah, sounds like Backyard's going to be stuck in the front yard here a little bit.
Danny says...
We got more than one piece of feedback?
Yeah, imagine. These have probably been stacked up for months.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Danny says, hey guys, I've been listening to you since episode 1. And you make my commute enjoyable when a new podcast comes out. I get to hear about places I'll never get to go and fish, I'll never get to catch, and companies that are destroying those places and fish. Come to think of it, I should be depressed when I listen, and yet I still come back for more and enjoy it. Does this make me a masochist?
Misery loves company.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Great job. Keep up the good work. I finally set up my monthly donation, something I should have done a long time ago, so that in about a year or so you should have enough money for a nice bottle of rye to play Backyard's drinking game.
Ooh.
Anyway,
it's awful.
That's a forward thinker right there.
Danny says, thanks again for all you do. Favorite salute. If you have honor, keep honor. If you can honor, come honor. Stay drunk and dry. Nothing below the fold. Very nice. Boy, it's almost like those were hand-selected for the 21st.
No, those are the feedbacks that we got since the last show. So.
That was adult content for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Perfect. I like it.
Yeah, it's great. Well,
I wonder if that'll offend anybody.
I don't know. I'm not worried about that.
Well,
nobody listens anymore.
If you're not offending anybody, you're not doing it right.
That's right.
That's a boring show.
That's true.
I'm offended.
Yeah, I try to be.
Well,
yes, people still listen.
Do they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I've confirmed. I have ways.
Well, we'll probably start doing a few more shows here in the next.
When things start chilling down and Derek's not working as much, and we can justify doing more shows. Yeah.
We really should move our studio to Carnation so that we can meet in the middle.
Oh. You want to rent out a space?
I think it's probably pretty cheap in Carnation.
Yeah. Cool.
There's an old school bus down by the river. We can just take that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
On-site reporting.
Yeah. Cool. Well, should we go to break and then call our first guest?
Yeah, I don't think we need a break yet. I mean, we just got here.
We did, but, OSHA and...
That's true. That. Yeah, we're union employees, so we get our
15 minutes of work and take a break.
That's right. Okay.
All right. This is the Open Flag Podcast. You can find us on theopenflagpodcast.com, on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Do you still do the Twitters?
On occasion, I drop a little nugget out there.
Right on.
Yeah.
You should have done one from north of the border, eh?
Yeah. And you can help us pay our bills by going to the website and clicking on the donate button, and whatever we don't use for the show goes to conservation stuff, so... Good use of your money.
Do Canadians use Twitter?
Probably.
What do they call it? Or is it just Twitter up there?
I think it's probably Twitter. I bet Twitter was probably invented by a Canadian. It sounds...
It's a pretty Canadian idea.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to break.
Let's find out.
Okay, bye.
This is Derek, and on behalf of Stream Tech Boats, I want to talk to you about 3 factors that I consider really important when you're choosing a drift boat, and that's safety, fun, and performance. These are the safest drift boats around to float out of. They're fun to row, and from a performance standpoint, if you're a professional on the water, all 3 of these factors are important. So let's take a second to hear from the man who designed the boat himself.
I tried pretty much everything, but just none of them were really doing what I wanted. So we set out to design a boat. I'd call it the one boat that would maneuver like the hard boats, that would go in the really rough places, that would float high, that would have all the amenities that come on a hard boat with anchor systems and good leaning. A very nice flat floor that you can inflate hard, that you can stand on. No bolts, no nuts, no pins, no clips, nothing to put it together. For the reasons that it's so good for fishing, it's got this rocker, and so it pivots quickly, and it slides out on the foam pile when you come off big drops. That rocker just climbs right out on the foam pile. A total game changer.
So there you have it. My recommendation, links, words. Look for us at www.streamtechboats.com. Call Link directly. He'll answer that phone, and he'll get you on your way towards the best drift boat on the market.
Now back to the Open Fly.
And we're back. Today we got Brandon Pasley and Leif Seberg from the Methow River Cleanup, both independent guides running from 2 different companies, and the guides are coming together to work on cleaning up the river from the natural disasters that happened over the summer. So, hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. So, the listeners will probably recognize the name of this river because it's a river that I've mentioned a few times as being one that I kind of grew up. It's where I learned to fly fish. It's where I got family history there. My grandparents are from a town that is on the river, so I've got a connection there and, watch it pretty closely. And this summer, a lot of stuff went on. So one of the 2 of you can jump on here and kind of give a little history on what you guys are doing and what happened this summer to the river and why you guys are doing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, due to the Carlton Complex fire and all the burnt hillsides and ash there, it created a flash flood situation that took out a bunch of homes and fences and cars and livestock, and everything you can think of got pushed down into the river. It took out both highways.
Jeez.
So, yeah, it started with the cleanup effort started with Methow Salmon Recovery, and they brought over Washington Conservation Corps. And they were here for a week and a half.
The corpse washed right into the river as well.
Yeah, but I would point it out that as it started with the fire, and then with the flood, and now we're trying to clean it up. But in that fire, myself and like 349 other families lost our homes. And it started the next day fighting fire at neighbors' houses.
Wow.
And evacuating people's belongings from their houses.
So
and it just went in lots of steps.
So, Leaf, your house was burned in the fire as well?
Yeah, mine and a lot of people.
Yeah, I've talked to a few other people that also lost homes. I know a lot of people there, so that's a big deal.
For people who don't live in the Northwest and may not have had their finger on the pulse of our fire season this summer, just real briefly, talk about the severity of that fire. I mean, it was a huge burn. How many acres actually were torched when it was all said and done?
You know, I know it was right around or over 250,000 acres, and a lot of homes. And then, you know, as if that wasn't bad enough, it was just like insult to injury. Then the rains came, and that blew out, you know, a fishery that I've been working on, developing on private property for more than 10 years. And those fish are all, they were washing up in people's driveways, and they're, you know, right up in their yard. And then, yeah, it kept coming out of the tributaries and flowing into the river. And at that point, the community was already together. We were already working on putting people's fences back together and hooking their generators up to their wells so they could have water and stuff like that. So it was already kind of a foundation we had. And so it was the next logical step. The people were okay, and they were safe. And we turned and looked at the river, and especially after these flash floods, people were like, that can't stay.
Yeah, there's a lot of debris in the river, and the unity that has come from this, you know, the fellowship of the community has made us really close. And it's just been great, you know, all of the guides coming together, guys who never really to each other a lot are now, you know, meeting with each other and how do we fix this, and it's just been really awesome. You know, I thought these guys were in their house at night, you know, tying hoppers and drinking vodka all night, but turns out they've got, you know, families. And
I used to scream river pimp at them because I grew up here, man. I watched this whole river blow up, you know, and now I find out that these guys, you know, it's kind of tough because now you have to like people that you didn't even like before. I mean,
that is tough.
Yeah.
I'm in the room with two guys I don't really like, but I mean, if not for those guys, we wouldn't really have a show. So
thanks to Brandon.
I can relate.
Thanks to Brandon. I'm Leaf. I'm here at Methow Fishing Adventures now, but he gave me my start at Globetrotters. Mm-hmm. And he and I have never talked to some of these guys that we talked to, you know, before these events, and now we have a really open dialogue, and it's about fixing this river and making sure that everybody else, you know, from our clients, that the people that are fishing at the same time are having a really good time and emphasizing etiquette and keeping the place clean.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen some cool photos that you guys have been posting on your Facebook for this, and seeing multiple drift boats and rafts just piled up with debris, getting it out of the river. So it's been pretty cool to see that much work being done by all these guys. So good on you.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's, you know, the local community. There's people out there that don't care about sport fishing at all, that are just out there because they care. And those are the people that, you know, deserve the most credit because they're not doing it to profit anything, you know, and they're just there to help. And it's really cool.
And imagine the landowner that can't clean that stuff up, and they'd be forced to look at that tractor tire and that yurt that's been across their beautiful before, you know, riverfront. These old ladies don't have to look at it now or whatever. They couldn't have moved it.
Yeah. So let's, Derek, were you about to ask a question? I feel like I'm continually disrupting you.
You are.
Oh, okay. Well, that's my job. So obviously, with these landslides and everything that's been pushed into the river that wasn't there before, what's been the effect on the aquatic life and the fish?
You know, the initial reports that we received from biologists were that all aquatic life was lost from Beaver Creek to the mouth of the Columbia, you know, but that it didn't turn out true. And, you know, it looked that way. There was plenty of dead fish and invertebrates washing up. But the ones we checked during garbage day, dude. I'm not far for that white fish. Well,
so do you? I mean, obviously the resident fish are going to be more impacted than the migratory fish. Do they foresee, like with the coho coming in now, or are they foreseeing that impacting them at all?
I don't see it impacting them at all. You know, all of that stuff is really settled on the bottom, and I think they move right over the top of it into the upper river. Mm-hmm. And there is still plenty of aquatic life down there, and it really wasn't until we got down there and started flipping over rocks that we saw, hey, man, there's stoneflies and caddis and snails all over the place.
We're catching a few little cutties, too.
Nice.
Many.
And as far as I know from experience going there in the fall that there's king salmon that dig reds all over that lower river. Obviously, they've been displaced, I'm guessing.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen a few in the typical places, but I don't know what they're going to do. They're not going to want to spawn in that ash. So
Some of them will come back. They're gonna pack into the. My part-time gig is I'm not a high-polluting biologist or any shit like that, but I've been doing fish culture and animal husbandry, parentry, or whatever the fuck with fish, and I take damn good care of fish, and I know what they're doing, regardless whether I'm fishing for them or not. And the proof is in my steelhead if you want to tour it, the hatchery here. But they're going to come up here. The summer's going to come up, and they're going to superimpose their reds. They're going to red on top of red on top of red on top of red, and you're going to have very little success in that recruitment. And then you're going to have. We're already seeing it when we were trout fishing there in the last day of trout fishing. The polo were already flying up here, and people were catching them during trout season. And the season opens Saturday for those guys because there's going to be so many up here. And these salmon are going to pack up here, and they're going to superimpose their eggs on top of each other, and that's going to lead to little wild recruitment. And but then what? Bear in mind, why do you want a bunch of juveniles in your system right now? It's already a small river system with a low floating density because it's sterile. And now it's got even less. So we don't need a bunch of fish. It's working out about the way you'd hope right now. But you can expect at least 40 to 60% loss in your resident fish below here that were in that water at that time.
So you're saying there's just more fish than there is spawning gravel?
Yeah, some of them are going to actually back off. Some of the lower spawning fish, especially summers, man. You see them, they'll spawn out in the gravel shoals in the mid-Columbia, out in the main stem Columbia. And they'll adapt.
Yep, they always do.
Brandon and I have always talked about between each other. I learned in fish, you don't want to push it, but every time I've been scared to death, with my fish over something like a power failure or just water shutting off or something like that, and thinking they might not tolerate a situation, most of the time they surprise you. I mean, don't err on the side of, they'll probably be all right. But
usually if it's not man-made mess-ups, it usually works out okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, and this is natural, man. As far as all the garbage in there, that's us, but you just got to have patience with it,
Yeah.
So you mentioned at the onset of this disaster that there were several organizations that came in to help, and now that they're gone, the guide community, the locals are kind of filling that void. What other organizations have you looked to for the future to help you manage this moving forward? Because it's going to take more than just the local guides and the local population there. What are the conservation organizations are you trying to partner with to make sure that this is something that continues to move forward and the river gets back to at least as healthy as it can be?
I've been trying to get a hold of other guides, outside guides. That there's 22.
What's up? Where are you now?
There's 22 guide services on the Methow. They advertise the Methow and guide during steelhead season, and there's only 4 local guide companies, and every single one of them is out there with us, picking this shit up. I've tried to contact these guys. I've posted on their pages. I've gotten no replies. And, it doesn't bother me that they, come in and they got to fish our river. That doesn't bother us at all. But if you profit from something, you take care of it so that it continues to take care of you.
Yep.
And so if they're going to profit from our river, please just come up and help. We'll welcome you with open arms. We're not going to be angry that you're not local. We just if you're going to profit from the river, just give back a little bit. It's not a big deal.
I think that's a perception of the guide community is that it's always very cutthroat and very combative, and it depends on what system you are. But there's guides that will go back and forth between shops and outfitters. Why do you think it took an event like this to bring you guys together when you have such a small local community there? And are there plans to do something like a like a guide organization or like some sort of body that's going to manage this kind of thing between guides moving forward?
Well, what we were talking this morning, we met just as an actual local guide, I guess cooperative, if you could call it that. And it's up. And let me just say, I don't really advocate for government regulation because they weren't here when my house was burning. They weren't here to save the other houses. They weren't here to clean anything up, and they're not here to fucking do anything most any time.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, we are going to do what we can to not piss the public off because we're very aware that guides do, and nobody likes a guide unless they're paying them half the time. But we don't want to fight between each other, and we've got personal reasons, beyond what anybody needs to know about us for not working directly together. But, we definitely feel a responsibility because we don't see regulation. And I've been an advocate for lottery systems and stuff like that, and gotten yelled at these local meetings. We're trying to come up with ideas, but, it's a slippery slope, or I don't know, it's not just black and white.
All right, back to your question. It all came together really organically, with the weird season. We realized that we needed each other. We needed more boats. We needed more hands out there, and we couldn't do it without each other, so that's why we came together.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a pretty good example of how every fishery should have some sort of community cooperative between people that use the resource for financial gain. If every guide outfit on every river had some sort of cohesive organization that brought them together for the betterment of the fishery, everything would be much better off.
I agree. That was part of my motivation for putting together this show, is just to kind of show. I mean, it took a disaster to do it, but the moral of the story is you can get a lot more done in these kind of cooperative deals.
Yeah.
Whether or not, even if it's a good year and there is no disaster, you can still come together and do something for the river. There's always something you can do for it.
You bet. I mean, and I don't want to come across as like we're the fool you or something. Like it's just it's all like you're saying. It's just it should be a basic principle, and even like if people can't. That was like a side challenge. Like Brandon kind of had this idea, like, hey, let's get the other guys and let's see how much junk we can fish for or something. And I say, if you can't make some challenge like driving all the way to the Methow just to come clean it up, there's always a day you could go just clean up the body of water that you fish nearest to your house. Or just like don't ever walk past garbage when you're fishing on the river. Pick it up if you can.
Yep.
I don't care if you stuff your pockets with it. Just take it out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So what's you talked about a lot of the garbage that you're finding in the water, stuff that's washed down because of the flood. What is the local the homeowner communities doing about keeping the riparian areas and the banks clear of this kind of stuff in the future? I mean, that stuff wouldn't be in the river if it wasn't so close to the river to begin with, or was the flood so pervasive that it swept out people's homes and it was just too wide to?
Well, I think you remember Kevin talked about that this morning. He said that we're thinking it's a good idea. We're thinking about. I mean, I do my radio show on K-Root here, and I was thinking about putting it out there because Kevin Van Buren had suggested it. Our guides cooperative deal thing this morning. We should probably put out the word, like you guys are saying, get stuff above the 100-year high water mark or whatever, because it may happen again in the spring, and that's one idea.
Yeah. Is it mostly private land along, below Carlton down to the mouth where this occurred, or is it a mix? What's it like there?
It is. There's 7 public accesses, or 9 now, with the 2 new ones. But
there's not much. We're at the full springs to get in and out.
Yeah, it's like a 40-mile stretch between Winthrop and the mouth. Maybe,
yeah,
with 9 public accesses, and most of the land is private. But
and that's just because there weren't that many people fishing here that long ago. But we definitely need more public access. There's a lot of public access that people don't know about. It needs to be mapped a little better.
Yeah, was that Derek's question? Because he just took off dying, hacking, coughing, or something.
No, they're not. That's not like a bomb or anything, is it?
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be okay. But now it's just Kirk and I.
Yeah, we've been trying to get rid of him for a while anyway.
Crap, he's back.
Gas.
Did I miss the question?
No, just we were discussing your departure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you guys,
Rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated.
You guys over on the Methow, you could be an example for, watersheds and river systems elsewhere. It's a small river, small community of guides, but you could basically set the precedent that other people could use as a model on their own home rivers. So maybe we can help blow this up because the open fly has a vast reach.
Yeah, is there a Trout Unlimited chapter that's active there in your area?
He meant to say area before he got cut off.
For Klimt.
Want back garbage, man.
Yeah, never underestimate the power of a small group doing, things like that and setting examples. It's something that could change, every river. And in the past, small groups of people have been the only thing that ever changed the world, So if everybody, came together and helped their own river system,
Yeah, if you can't get here, just do it there.
Yeah.
it would be a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, no, go ahead.
Like Brandon was saying, it was a pretty organic thing. This community was small in the first place. My dad built his house with the neighbors helping to raise the walls. My dad and mom were nurses, so if people broke their arm or something on Libby Creek, they'd come to our house in the middle of the night, or if you needed help anywhere around here, you could knock on a door. And so some people that, maybe are new around here saw it and jumped right on with it, and people saw that. They jumped right on with it. Shit, we were out there fighting the fire, and some guy from Squims blocked at the roadblock, and he hops off his Harley and runs up and starts helping us on the pump. It's been infectious, and it's been awesome, and I bet even no matter where you're at, if you do it in your own hood there, just act super nice to somebody, do what the fuck you can when you can, just like a normal human being should, and maybe they will be propelled into doing it,
Right. And Leaf really motivated me. And this didn't start with the river. We were helping people in our community way before that. The power was out for 2 weeks, and there's elderly people with no water.
Or air conditioning was 100 and something degrees.
We're filling our trucks with bottled water and delivering it to people we've never met.
And so was everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. And anybody who could do anything was helping, and we had our fly fishing sponsor, Heavy Beats, came up with a truckload of shovels and saws.
Oh, wait, we got bead fishermen on the show? Cut. I'm just kidding.
I was where? No, you can't. No.
Actually, there was one day, one of the days Leaf probably unknowingly met me on the river. He gave me a handful of heavy beads.
Well, Well, it's not even, I try to just drop some flies or some tips on people because I'm aware of the fact that people are aware of us. And, don't think that guys that are out there, like I thought in the first place, being river pimps all the time or clueless. Some of us try to go around you, behind you, let you fish the water. Or if we can, help you fish it better. If I can drop a bug on you that's working, I definitely will. We all just gotta, in professional lives and personal lives, do what we can to support each other and just stop acting like savages. Don't want to prove out in Heston, right, and get turn into cannibals and
That's funny. On that topic, when I was fishing another Washington Steelhead River a couple weeks ago, I was floating. And there's this one very popular run that's on this float, and there's actually like 3 houses that are probably 100 yards off the river, and apparently one of the guys that lives in one of those houses was fishing, and he was about halfway through the run, and this is about a 100-yard stretch of river, and it's about probably 80 feet wide, just a big run that can fish probably 10 people. I anchored the boat up behind him and started fishing, and he came huffing and puffing up to up to my boat, about to start a fight because I was fishing his water, and literally tried to kick us. He's like, "I own that house up there. You guys shouldn't be fishing here." That didn't go over real well.
No.
I didn't react well to that.
We've got a lot of private land, and sometimes we'll run into a local downriver that doesn't want us to fish there, and either you ask him to see his lease for that section of river, or Or you just say, okay, man, you take your piece and you walk away.
Yeah.
So back to the...
You can walk anywhere within 15 feet of the historic high water mark. Sometimes that's not a good idea. In some places, like up here on the Chihuahua, that's somebody's yard or whatever, and you wouldn't have to in that water level. But yeah, be chill with each other. Nobody owns the river.
I'm pretty chill. But that guy wanted to start a fight.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
So back to the actual cleanup. How much of the river have you swept and pulled? What percentage of the trash out?
I can't give you an exact percentage, but I'm telling you that we could float the same sections that we've been floating, and new stuff is going to pop up. There's so sandy, and all of our big deep holes those first few below the slide are pretty full of sand. It went from 10 feet deep to 2 feet deep.
Holy crap.
And Nissan in there that we can't even see.
We haven't found the Nissan. Leaf did have to come the day with a microwave.
And they found the Nissan floor mat and the antenna.
Right.
So what is the craziest thing you found? The microwave?
Microwave was cool, but
it was really heavy. It was super small, and somehow it's really heavy.
The hardest things to get off the bottom so far have been that microwave
or like
tires.
Same thing, how it rolls up wire and
tires and sheet metal. It sticks to the bottom until you get the current behind it to force it up.
Man, I own a drift boat, and if I wanted to, this could be a one-up on me. All these guys like Brandon with a raft that could get past next spring by all these nails, and I'd be the last one standing. I could just leave it all there.
That's that spirit of cooperation.
So many nails in that shit. You're going to have to be careful.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we float in 13-foot outcast airs, and Leaf is the only guy that uses the drifters, and he's coming.
Oh, drifter!
Do you row that through the Black Canyon?
I'm fucking crazy, dude, but I'm not stupid.
All right. I went through the Black Canyon in a raft once, and I don't know. I just walk into that river now.
Well, that stretch, I was talking to Brandon about it. That's good whitewater, 15,000, rolls right over those rocks like a surfing dream. Other than that, you should be on the bank, dude. My daddy taught me, man, once it gets to the end of August, pull the boat out. You're going to scare the fish going through anyway.
Yeah. Cool. Well, guys, we're running out of time here. We got another guest we got to call. So is there anything else you wanted to mention to people? This is kind of a open, you can talk about anything.
Where can people send donations if that's appropriate?
Methow, please come help us. That's the biggest thing. I know I'm going to see you this weekend for catching fish. Come over a day early and help us clean out the river.
And regular people too.
We've got a huge pile that we're removing tomorrow. All of the local guides will be there. It's got to go 100 feet straight up a hill. And we're going to start a chain gang, and we don't have that chain gang fully put together yet. And anybody who can help.
Well, I know we got a lot of listeners that fish there, so hopefully we can get some of us up there. I'm going to do my best to make it up there this fall, so maybe I'll meet up with you guys.
We're happy.
Some fishing info, just drop us a line. We'll help you catch some fish, dude.
We're happy to help everyone and share our river with everyone, and it'd be great if everyone could chip in, but especially guides that profit, give it a little.
Cool. Derek, Kirk, you guys got anything else?
No, remarkable job that you guys are doing. I hope that, it's not too long before the river's back in shape and you guys can go back to hating each other.
Oh, right.
Yeah, return to normal, for crying out loud.
Normal human beings and get in the front of the fucking line.
That's funny.
Good work, you guys.
Yeah, good work.
Take care of each other.
What did you say?
I said take care of each other.
Take care.
Oh.
Yeah. I thought you said heavy petter, which is one way of taking care of.
Hey.
Studio just got really small. What the hell?
It's these new headphones. I don't know.
Yeah, things do feel different.
All right,
guys. Appreciate your time and keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully see you out there soon.
Right on.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Peace. You like my new sign off there?
Oh, that was kind of, what was that?
I don't know.
Peace.
Peace.
Well, that place is been hit hard. And unfortunately, that river being on the east side where it's at, it doesn't
east side of Washington.
Yeah, the east side of the Cascades.
Yep.
It doesn't get the heavy winter rainstorms that west side rivers do, which could help to.
But what it does get is a huge spring runoff.
Right.
I mean, the river goes from, it's like at 300 or 400 cubic feet a second right now. By spring, it'll be running at like 30 grand.
Right.
So it goes from little creek. I mean, it just gets it all at once, instead of like up and down like our rivers.
Yeah.
So it'll scour.
Mm-hmm.
That lower section will definitely scour, and it'll be down
the lower
to rock bed again. And
yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think after that spring runoff, things will. I mean, it's going to be different. I'm expecting next year to see a different river than what I'm used to.
Well, sure, a 10-foot hole that's now 2 feet of water.
Yeah,
that's going to take some dredging.
Well, I mean, Mother Nature will certainly do it. It will be interesting to see, what that does do. The 18 other guide services and guides that are out there that aren't taking part in this, that really kind of sucks.
Yeah, they need to get there.
I mean, I know a couple personally that guide there in the fall, and they're, I mean, it's definitely heavy on their mind too. And but they're trying to pay bills and they're guiding on a river, several hundred miles away right now to pay the bills. So. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard, and I know these particular individuals do care about it. I know if and when they do get there this fall, they'll be helping. But one of them told me if they can't make something like that happen, they're not going to be guiding there this fall. They'll be on another river. So not everybody that's not there is planning on exploiting these guys.
Right.
There are some people that actually are already thinking about that. So
it's hard. Fires are a natural thing, and they're hard to sit back and watch because the damage that they do. But people have to realize that fires have been happening on Earth since long before we were around, and in the end, it's good for the balance of nature. It's just hard to watch, especially when you have a house that burned down and a river that you derive your livelihood from gets choked with ash. But it will recover. The people will rebuild. They sound like a pretty hardy lot of folk over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are.
The non-fishing public is going to have a big role in it as well. I mean, all that stuff that's in the river is in the river because it was really, really close to the banks. I mean, you have yards full of trash. When you go by, every river you float down, unless it's pristine wilderness, there's already trash that's there.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's a big call to the community of you have to change the way you're doing things when you live next to a river because these events are going to happen.
Yeah. Well, the non-fishing public is really what's needed to help our waters. The recreational fishermen are such a small, drop in the bucket of the people, and as far as a voice, we need everybody to care more. Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, and I think that overall message of, like they kept saying, and they're pretty passionate about it, is if you're a guide that's profiting and I guess exploiting is the only word that comes to mind, the system for profit, you should probably do something in return. And I know of plenty of guides that do not follow that philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I mean, how you can think any differently than that is beyond me.
Is there a place where people can send money to help? I mean, they didn't really talk about. They need help. They need.
I think, manpower. And I think it was them that posted this, or something. It was somebody within the Methow drainage that posted this. I don't know if it was them or somebody else that said, "We don't need your money. We need your help."
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I think. That's why they kind of skirted that question and just said, "Just come help."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I guess money could be used to pay for their gas driving up and down the river or something, or buy water bottles for everybody or something. But otherwise, I think they need manpower.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and true. I mean, by and large, unless you're a really large operation, I mean, most of these guide services aren't out there they're not profiting. I think that's a general misconception. I mean, you don't find a lot of rich fly fishing guides. They get their riches and their rewards from doing what they do. That's why I do it. I'm certainly not any richer than the day I started monetarily, but I mean, would money make a big difference? Sure. I mean, you can go there and you can book trips, and you can put a little money into the local economy and give these guys some motivation to stay there and to keep fighting for the place.
There's a really good brewery in Winthrop.
Yeah, and go there and drink beer. I mean, the best thing you can do is go there and spend money, because the people that are there right now, like these guys that care for the place, they care for it whether they're fishing for it or not. Yeah. So that's the big difference. If you're a fly-by-night guy that goes in there only when the fishing is good,
And there are a lot of those.
And there's a lot of those. Then you have some choices to make. I mean, it's, if you stay away because it sucks, well, you shouldn't go there when it's good.
Right.
Yeah. So go to the Methow Valley, spend a lot of money, but
clean up some trash.
Yep. And don't fish this year.
I wonder where they're putting all this trash.
Yeah, I
hadn't thought about that.
On the Wenatchee River.
On the Wenatchee.
just dump it in the Wenatchee.
Put it on a barge and float it downstream and fill that hole in the dam at...
at Wanapum. There we go.
Hey, there's a solution.
Yeah, and like I was telling him, I've had reservations about going there this fall because of what's going on. And, I mean, I'm not there helping, and not just because I'm not there helping, but if I go there, I'm going to be a pretty big... impact on the fishery because I catch a lot of fish there. But
I can go back and fish them.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel good about doing it this year, personally. If I do go, it's got to be like halfway be a cleanup trip at least. I don't know. I just haven't been feeling it this year. In fact, while I was sitting here doing the show, a friend of ours, actually Dave Henry, who's been on the show, messaged me and said, "Hey, do you want to hit the Methow?" It's like, oh, funny enough, we're doing a show about that. And texted him back, and I was like, I don't think so, man. I don't think it's happening this year.
So you're texting while we're on the air.
That's called distractive podcasting.
Yeah. Actually, I've been doing a lot of messaging with my boss, making him still think I'm working.
Oh.
Actually, I was doing productive things, but how about we go to break and come back with our next guest?
Yeah. Okay. It's not like we were given a choice.
Who was also one of our first guests. Who was one of our first guests?
Yeah, big surprise there. Shane Anderson, Wild Reverence.
Wild Reverence guy.
Yeah.
He's in town tonight.
Yes, he is. He's coming to Seattle tonight and doing a big showing there with Wild Steelhead Coalition. So we want to talk to him about what life's been like ever since we talked to him last. He was still working on the film. When we talked to him now, it's been released. He's toured pretty much like half the country at this point.
Yeah, we kind of launched his career.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be sure to point that out when we talk to him. So more on that when we get back.
All right.
Break.
Peace.
Now back to the open fly.
All right, welcome back. That was an interesting show segment about the Methow. Now we're taking it back to episode number 1 and one of our first guests, who happens to be Shane Anderson with
Yay.
the man behind Wild Reverence. So welcome back to the show, Shane.
Thanks a lot. You guys have grown a lot since the first time I was on.
So have you. Last time I saw you were like this high.
He was like my height.
He was like Kirk's height.
Yeah.
So we're excited because you've got a stop in Seattle tonight for, is this the first showing of the film in Seattle?
It is, and it's going to be a good one. I think I only have like 30 tickets left on Ticket River right now. So
nice.
That's
actually, you know what? It's not the first.
Yeah,
showing
we've seen it before.
We saw the private viewing with down at the brewery.
We did do that. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that was cool. That
I supposed to know about that.
I kind of felt important.
Yeah, that was kind of nice, isn't it? So you've been around the country. Obviously, this is taking on a life of its own. You've been quite busy doing it. Tell us about your experience on the road and in promoting this, and what you think has changed since you started this project.
Well, yeah, I guess I started touring it last spring and then took kind of a summer hiatus and then got going again about 3 weeks ago on the Wild Steelhead Coalition Patagonia Keep the Wild Wild tour. And this is going to be the final stop in Seattle, and it's been a wild ride. It's been great, I don't think there's anything better than actually meeting people face to face and talking about on a personal basis like what's going on and gaining support. I guess when I was making the movie, I didn't really expect to be thrown into the fish activism circle. I'm kind of more of a filmmaker, and but it's. I've kind of found this new passion of, spreading what I feel is the right word to promote recovery. So,
how many, in a nutshell, how many people are you seeing in attendance on this film tour?
It's gone anywhere from 50 people to 250 people.
Nice.
Arcata was definitely, Northern California was my best, most supportive stop so far.
How many are you expecting in Seattle tonight?
Well, I think the capacity is like 170, so we'll see. I mean, I think I know it's going to sell out, so at least that.
When you were at the showing in Arcata, were there women in the front row throwing articles of clothing at you?
That sounds like an affirmative.
It was a great crowd. He said.
Well, that's great. Well, that region, they love their steelhead, and they have seen as much of a decline there or more as anywhere else. So,
it's interesting. I just feel like there's more actual community support rallying around the fish there, and you can really tell because there's no doubt that the trend lines have been going up there. And, it's not just fisher people rallying around the fish. It's the whole community. And there's all these watershed councils that are part of habitat restoration and really taking pride in their backyard rivers. And I think sometimes up in the Northwest we get a little disconnected from that. And I think if all the groups, watershed councils and fish groups all work together, we could really recover these fish.
Yeah, well, your film can definitely be a voice for that. So I hope you get full capacity tonight.
Mm-hmm. Shane, what's been the biggest surprise to you in this whole process over the last year or so? What's been the biggest surprise to you?
People not knowing that the Olympic Peninsula is in decline.
Yeah,
even in
I experience that all the time.
Everywhere I go, they think that it's just the most healthy wild place left, which it is the most wild place left, but it's definitely, in my book, the next to go. And I think people aren't really taking it as serious as they should. It will become the next Puget Sound in 10 years if we don't do something this year. And we have real opportunities to do things this year. There's going to be a bunch of new rule proposals up sometime around in February. And it's extremely important for everybody to lend their voice to these wild steelhead on the OP this year. Mm-hmm. Because there's people out there that aren't totally happy with the status quo and don't believe the declining trend lines, and their voice often overshadows the wild fish's voice. Yeah. So it's important this year.
What about the biggest maybe disappointment that you've experienced as a result of doing this? Is something just really stood out as you wish you could have done something differently or done something better?
I guess kind of some of, like what I was just talking about, some of the lack of apathy with fishermen and not lending a voice necessarily. And I've almost been getting more support from non-fishing public with this film and a better response and more people really engaged in wanting to help with the activism and making a change.
Wasn't that part of your goal, too? And we mentioned in the first interview you wanted to get the general public pulled in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So absolutely.
That sounds like success.
Doing that, there's no doubt about it. I just got to get it in front of more of the general public. So kind of my most rewarding have been some of the film festivals and some of the stops that have pulled in, the non-fishing sector. And honestly, some of the disappointing ones were ones that I felt where the fishing community just didn't show up. And I don't know if that's just not wanting to accept the reality of the situation and changing or what, but
I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that over the last several years there have been so many fly fishing films, and people just think, oh, it's more of the same, seen that, been there, done that, and they don't realize what it is about your film that makes it a must-see. It's not just another fly fishing film.
But, the kind of ironic part is that the fly fishing films usually sell out those theaters. So it's kind of like people just want to lose themselves in the fantasy of everything's okay. Yeah. When it's really serious right now, especially in Washington. It's the most serious in Washington.
Right.
So we got to get on it.
In our last segment, Shane, we talked with a couple of guides over on the Methow about the situation there with the Carlton Complex fire and how the floods have damaged the fishery and how that's brought them closer together as, I guess, partners in trying to help this thing recover and work together. And it struck me that, it took a disaster like that to align everyone around a common cause moving forward. It seems like that when you talk about the status of of wild steelhead that it's at that disaster point, and yet that doesn't seem to resonate with a whole lot of people. So is there potentially a follow-up that you're going to do to this film, or what takes it to the next level in terms of awareness and making a big difference?
Well, yeah. I mean, oftentimes, John McMillan put it, it'd be nice to see a strategy that's more proactive, that doesn't wait until it's an emergency to call the ambulance. But it seems like it takes those emergencies before people really wake up. And, I mean, you saw it down in the eel in Northern California. It took a total collapse before they, started investing in habitat and pulled the hatcheries and quit the harvest. And then it's taken 30 years to recover. But I think we're kind of at that tipping point. And it took the same thing in Puget Sound. And, there are slow trend lines up in Puget Sound right now. So things are starting to turn around there. And I think that the unique part about the OP is that we haven't totally hit that tipping point. We're almost there. I think we missed escapement again last year, and that's probably like 60% of the time now in 20 years. So it's we're like really on the precipice. And if those ocean conditions take a turn for the worst, we're going to go off the cliff. Yeah. We've had good ocean conditions for the last few years.
But at least they still allow wild retention there. That's important.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something everybody can rally around, making it catch and release fishery. So I think we need, as a whole group, all sportsmen, we need to figure out, what things that we can find in common, what common ground, instead of like just picking, what's our favorite limiting factor to complain about. Like, there's so many other limiting factors that we could rally around, and I think that's how we're going to move forward. As far as projects go, I'm doing a bunch of short vignettes right now, and one of them's kind of about how Montana went wild back in 1974. Within 4 years, they saw a 100% increase in the Madison River after pulling the stocking program. From that, they quit stocking every river in Montana, and 40 years later, some people say there's too many fish per mile. So,
darn.
So I'm doing a story on that. I'm doing a story on the wild sockeye returns this year up in like the Lake Wenatchee area. I was up there 3 weeks ago, and it looked like Alaska. It was amazing.
Cool.
The White River.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And
Russ tried to get me to go up there and swim with him, and I never got the chance.
It's amazing.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get to do it next year.
River snorkeling?
Yeah, that river snorkeling's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
If you can find a hood big enough.
Yeah, which I did, finally. Continue, Shane. Sorry, I digress.
And I'm also, right now, last couple of days, I've been editing a little trailer because I'm going to launch my own Change.org campaign for the Olympic Peninsula to gather signatures and support for a change in management. And I have a whole list of just ideas to present in front of the commission and the governor.
Is that stuff you can share, or is that on the DL for now?
Oh, it should be up next week.
Sweet.
So, yeah. So that's going to be my personal action plan for the peninsula, is to really, try to rally people's support so we can make the necessary changes so the fishery doesn't get lifted and closed down.
And you mentioned earlier about, you didn't realize that how much was this going to, affect you and, kind of put you in that fish activist kind of a bucket. When you start doing things like making films about wild steelhead and about launching campaigns to protect them, you're obviously going to make a lot of friends, but you're probably going to make a lot of enemies as well. Have you run into a situation where someone has just really gotten to you from that standpoint and made you rethink or pause while you're doing this and help you move forward, or has it been pretty much a smooth sail?
Well, there's always people that, it's kind of just as much like a political decision or like a religious viewpoint, in kind of the way some people come at this stuff. Some people just don't believe in science, right? And you're not going to change those people. And there are people that, I get nasty messages, sure. Everybody that's been in some kind of an activism role does. But honestly, it's been a much better response than I ever could have imagined. I've had a lot of people that probably didn't see eye to eye with some of the ideals going in, like come up and shake my hand afterwards and said, wow, you really opened my eyes, and, what can I do? And I've had a lot more of those experiences than the negative ones. I haven't had anyone come up to my face and actually say anything. It's more the behind the back little snarky emails or comments.
They'll leave you a passive aggressive email to read later.
Yeah, but I think it really takes a man for some of these people to come up and say, "Wow, I was wrong, and what can I do to help? I want to be a part of the solution, not the problem anymore."
Yeah, that's cool.
That's been encouraging. That's what's been keeping me going, honestly. Because those make me feel like, wow, the momentum's changing and the paradigm's shifting.
Yeah,
this is great. So,
yeah.
All you need is enough money to buy gas for your tank to get from show to show and soldier on.
Exactly. Selling merch the whole way, get to town, and
sounds like a dead show.
So, where else can? I mean, obviously, not all our listeners are in Seattle, but I know there's a few more Seattle showings in the next week. There's like the Flycaster Brewing is doing one, and a couple others. Where else can people watch this going forward that may not be in Seattle or may not be able to make it tonight?
Yeah, like this Saturday, we got the Flycaster Brewing event in Kirkland, and we're going to donate a proceeds of beer sale to Wild Fish, so that's awesome, and I'm really looking forward to that. We got Eugene on the 7th. I'm going to be partnering with Native Fish on that one. My buddy Kyle Smith down there at another brewery, at the Hop Valley Brewery, and then
noticing a pattern.
Yeah, and then another native. The tour's been going on a while. I need to start doing more brewery shows, right? And then we got Everett on the 15th at the Everett Theater downtown, and I'm doing one in La Grande, Oregon on the 28th, and then I got another film festival, the Mount Hood Independent Film Festival in Hood River on the 7th.
Nice.
So,
Maybe one of the local breweries needs to license your brand and produce a nice brew called Wild Reverence.
That would be pretty sweet. That's awesome.
And
down in Humboldt, we got the Steelhead beer, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That one right there on the wall of the studio.
Yeah, I've got a poster for it.
Mad River.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I think is there anything else we want to cover before we let you go? Is there anything we didn't talk about that you wished we would have?
Just keep a heads out for this petition that's going to be going around, because it's really going to make a difference. It's a really easy thing to do to lend a voice to the fish, and it's a really, really important, really, really important action, because the people's voice is what's going to change, and it's what pressures political decisions, and it's what's going to save these fish.
Nice. Well, we'll keep an eye out on the social media for that.
Yes. All right.
Well, awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Cool, Shane. Looking forward to tonight. I'll see you there.
See you there.
Kirk won't. He's playing hooky.
Yeah, I can't be there.
Yeah,
but
he lacks dedication.
As flaky as they come. Flaky as they come.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. All right, Shane. Get back to work.
All right, guys. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you tonight and down the street of dreams.
Yes,
cool.
Sir.
Sounds good.
Rock
all right.
on.
Bye-bye. All right.
Making a difference.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels good to know that we helped launch his career.
Well, we
January.
pretty much put him on the podcast map.
We did. I don't know if he's done other podcasts. We might have exclusive rights.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Are you going to wear your podcast hat or shirt tonight?
I might throw the shirt on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing, like he said, down in Northern California, where he had his best turnout, obviously that's a regional thing, but when one region on the West Coast, which has steelhead, really takes to it, that can spread, because that can be a voice that other parts up in Oregon and Washington hear. So
plant seeds that will grow.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like that show we had, show number 20, where we were talking about seafood up in Alaska and that whole ocean gyre. You get these. Once you get a local fish that goes out into the ocean, it becomes everybody's fish.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that you have people caring for their own local fish,
take care of everybody's fish.
Take care of everybody's fish.
Yeah.
And then in turn, you help out some Chinese commercial vessel.
Well, what are you going to do about the Chinese? I mean, that's a little beyond our scope of control here.
They're buying all our coal.
And our trees.
They are doing that.
Yeah.
They're cutting, we're cutting down on trees and selling it to them.
But look what you get back. I mean, you get back iPhones.
Yay.
Well,
Is that the Japanese?
No, that's Chinese make it.
Chinese make it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder who made these new headphones we have. Are they made in the United States?
I don't know. For that price, I hope so.
I'll pay more for something made here.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that stuff overseas is crap. There used to be a perception that anything made in China was a piece of junk.
Not always true anymore.
No, as Evan can attest to.
Yeah. In fact, there are some things they do there that I believe that they are superior at.
Yeah.
I won't say what it is, but there are certain types of things that, unfortunately, we, as much as we have tried to source things in other countries and or domestically, they are the best at some things.
Well, Chinese food.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're going to Canada, you're getting poutine.
Mm-hmm.
Go to China, go to Chinese food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That could be a massive generalization.
Yeah. The Chinese food I got in China was remarkably better. The stuff you get at the diarrhea dragon down the street, not so much.
I saw somebody recently found a wire in their food from the local Chinese.
The local diarrhea dragon?
Yeah. It was obviously from a brush cleaning off a grill or a wok, and they found it before they swallowed it.
Oh, that could have been bad.
Yeah, it could have been bad.
Could have had a perforated intestine or something like that.
All right. Wild steelhead and perforated intestines within 5 minutes of each other. Only on the Open Fly podcast. Yeah. Cool, guys. Well,
now that we're legal, I mean, it feels pretty good. 21. I mean,
yeah, so play that drinking game that...
go back and listen to all the episodes.
You're probably sober from listening to this show, because I don't think I purposely tried not to say...
And I purposely threw out social media a few times.
No, we said beer.
Beer.
Breweries, chain.
Did you say move along?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I wasn't able to sustain my sustainability run, so...
Yeah.
Oh, I did have one little story about our sponsors, because I need to mention them. Well, actually, it's a legit story anyway, but the Slick Boat Bottom Coating Wetlander that supports our show. Mm-hmm. So I coated my drift boat in that this summer and took it down a very low water river system multiple times this summer, and I think without it, I may not have made it through. You should see the bottom
of my boat. Was that on the Clackatoot?
Yes. It, if I had my old coating on there, I may not have a boat anymore. It was that bad.
Was it quieter?
Yeah, I mean, it's an aluminum boat, so it's still going to be it's like a big metal speaker going down the river, so you hit like a pebble, and the entire canyon knows about it. But there were times where you'd hit a rapid, like a long rapid of just basically 2 inches of water going over rocks, and I was able to slide down them.
I saw a guy in a big Willys on the Yakima for the Two Fly event. He did not have the slick bottom coating on because he and his lady friend were in the center of the channel, pretty slow section of water, and he just slid right up on top of a rock and stuck. And it was like a teeter-totter. She was in front, he's in the back. And
I've experienced that before.
Yeah, finally she just got out of the boat and walked over and started fishing a run on foot. But that thing was like
no, there was a few times where I was shocked that we were able to get through it. Like we pulled up on a rock and just kind of pulled up on it, and usually where it'd start teeter-tottering, it'd tip over the other side and just slide right off.
Nice.
Yeah, and this isn't...
So you slid right out on top of the foam pile.
Wrong ad.
Oh, sorry.
No, really though, they support the show, and they obviously support the show, so we mention them, but this is a legitimate testimony. It's
real deal.
In fact, my passengers who had no idea my connection to this coating were commenting on how well we were sliding through.
Nice.
In and out of the foam pile, as it were.
So up and on too,
and through it.
And through it.
Yeah. No, it's really good stuff, and I will recoat my boat with it when it needs it because it's the real deal.
Recoat your boot.
Yes. Wetlander.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So, Derek, you did a little deer hunting recently.
I've already filled my
I wonder
tag.
if you'd put that slick coating on the front of your truck, I wonder if that deer would have slid right off.
It might have. I don't know. That's very possible. But I guess I'd be willing to give it a shot.
It would have knocked it right off the highway, down the embankment, right into the foam pile.
Yeah, it might have. That might be the fastest dead deer that you've ever seen. So who knows?
Yeah.
But it's impetus for getting a new bull bar for the truck, which is, I kind of go through the cycle about every 3 or 4 years. I'll hit something. Well, it's time for the steel bumper, and then I never hit anything again with that steel bumper. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Indeed.
There you go.
I should have got one of those salvage tags too, because there was a lot of tying material.
Well, backstrap.
Well, that's true too.
Young, tender.
Yeah, I just don't know how much of that deer was left after I hit it.
Yeah.
Sorry, deer.
Get some jerky.
Sorry, deer. Didn't mean to kill you.
Well, I've hit a deer in Montana. Derek hit a deer in Montana. Evan, have you hit a deer in Montana?
I've never hit a deer, period.
No, you got to go to Montana then.
What I need to get is a sticker. I saw a bunch of cars that had obviously been hit a deer or had hit by a deer that had a little round oval sticker that said "rad" on it. Like, I got my little Medal of Honor here.
Yeah. Well, my buddy Mark was driving up Rock Creek Road in mid-morning, and a deer ran right out into his fender. Just
ran into the side of the truck. Yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense. They're a very intelligent creature.
Yeah, they are. Eyes on the side of their heads.
That was the problem.
Yeah. They had no forward vision.
No forward vision. The deer are just like rudderless. They need some slick bottom coatings. They can just go with the flow.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Well, we should get to doing things that are not this. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was fun.
It was. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. Yeah.
Let's see if we...
Derek's enthused about doing it again sometime.
We make it to show 22. After you turn 21, everything is kind of a nondescript downer until 25. And when we hit show 25...
The quarter century mark?
Yep, and our auto insurance goes down, we'll be celebrating.
Mm-hmm. Till we hit that over the hill.
Yeah.
And then
people are going to start
have our midlife crisis.
Like, when are you going to have your second podcast or your second show or whatever?
Yeah.
When are you going to start another show?
All right, well...
At least we're not spending a lot of money on diapers.
No, not yet.
Yet.
All right, guys, go home.
All right.
Okay.
I'll do the same.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Bye.
See you on show 22. Peace.